they will actually bear any fruit to stop and end that suffering that Kenyans across the country are having to go or be under. So let's continue with our conversation, and we now want to focus on another developing story. And opposition leader and NASA flag bearer Raila Odinga has dismissed as absolute nonsense calls that he be probed for allegedly issuing hate speech remarks in Kajiado. While on a campaign in Kajiado County, he was quoted telling the Maasai community not to sell their ancestral territory to what he termed as outsiders. The remarks sparked fury from Jubilee leaders who called upon the National Cohesion and Integration Commission and the Directorate of Public Prosecutions to probe Raila for incitement. But in an address to the media on Monday, Raila said nothing he mentioned requires an investigation. Let's listen in to what he said, the reactions from different leaders and his response yesterday before we speak to Gitile Naituli, who is a commissioner at the NCIC.
Watu nalazimishwa kuuza tu mashamba yao. Unauza mashamba kwa sababu sio kupenda kwako, unauza kwa sababu ya ufukara. Masivyo? Wao ndio wanakuja kuingia, kuvamia. Mpaka sasa kuja kama sasa hakuna mashamba sababu ya ufukara. Hiyo tunataka kubadilisha. Tunaweza kubadilisha hiyo ili watu wasiuze mashamba yao. Baki na shamba. Usiuze kule anatoka sababu gani anakuja kwako? Si baki kule kwao.
We demand Honorable Raila Odinga as a leader, as a presidential contender, to apologize to the nation.
That amounted to incitement, that amounted to hate speech, and I personally, we just wait for Kaparo. If Kaparo give us instruction, of course the DCI is there, and I'm sure they must have been preparing to investigate.
Absolute nonsense. What is it that I've said which requires investigations? There's nothing I've said that requires any kind of investigations. My statements speak for itself. There's nothing criminal that I've said or I've done. So what would they be investigating?
Why is it wrong for Raila Amolo Odinga to advise Kenyans not to sell their property, but it's okay for Uhuru Kenyatta to go to Kiambu and tell residents there not to sell their land?
Just only 2 days ago, President Uhuru Kenyatta, while handing over title deeds in Kiambu, urged the people not to sell their land. Jubilee is sensationalizing the comments made in Kajiado, firstly because they have messed up the land chapters of the Constitution, and secondly because scaremongering is the only campaign tool they are left.
All right, so it has been a very heated conversation for the last couple of days. Very many questions, reactions about the statements that Raila Odinga made. And I want to speak to Professor Gitile Naituli. He is Commissioner at the NCIC. Thank you very much for joining us here in studio. So we'd like to hear from NCIC. You've heard the clips there. You've heard some of the reactions from different places about the reactions, the remarks that Raila Odinga made. From where you sit as NCIC, are you uncomfortable with anything that Raila Odinga said in Kajiado?
Yeah, first is our policy not to discuss ongoing investigations until the report is in. So that I will not go there. But our service to say that any remark which is made by our politicians in this competition which borders on hate speech will be investigated. And it's proper to do that because we need to avoid the situation where in the heat of the politics, then they divide us, and then the country is unable to reconcile after the election. Because after the election, we will still have Kenya.
Right.
And we will still have to put the two groups back together. Because right now, there is those who support this and support this, but we are all Kenyans.
All right.
So our policy is to investigate anything that borders on hate speech or separation.
Let's talk about...
you know, there's something I've just heard is there when you played the clip.
Yeah.
Outsiders. You know, there is no outsiders because we are all in the same team. So when you mention that, we will be interested to know exactly what you mean.
And that brings me to my next question, and also just kind of like relating it to the first. So what really is hate speech? Because there are some quarters who say nothing he said was questionable, should raise concern, and other quarters are like, yes, indeed, he said something that is not good for the country, especially in this time that we are at. So going back to NCIC, what do you consider as hate speech or insightful remarks?
Hate speech, and this I'm not analyzing what the leader of the opposition said, because I can't really discuss that. But I'll tell you, hate speech is any statement that may mobilize hatred against another community or even against an individual. So anything that you say that even can be interpreted to mean that is hate speech. Yes.
Also, let's talk about the reactions that we've had from different political spheres, because it is a campaign season, and everybody is using anything to sort of like hit at the other person. How do you, as NCIC, sort of like filter out what is real versus what is purported perception from people?
You know, we are guided by the Constitution on the freedom of speech, even though that is the only freedom which is limited. But what really guides us is the definition of what amount to separating us as Kenyans during the campaign.
Okay.
We particularly are interested with those politicians who will go and perpetually talk about their competitors, as opposed to talking about themselves and their agenda. So when we notice you are too much into the other person, we will follow your meetings with a lot of keenness, because now you are kind of treading in dangerous territory. Because what we are also advising Kenyans to listen to these politicians very careful, and then even look at the way we react ourselves. Even when there is violence or fracas, these people are looking for jobs. So we not really get ever hear, even the newspapers, this is what the press tells us, that supporters of so and so and the supporters of so and so clashed. But we are not hearing the children of so and so and the children of so and so clashed. So we want the Kenyans to be detached and to be less emotional in the parties and the individuals they support, because it's not life and death matter. These people are looking for jobs first and foremost. So we ask Kenyans, please don't break your leg or your arm in order to assist this person to get his job, because they will not break theirs to assist you to get your job.
To get your job. Interesting view there. But also considering, let's take the last elections and this ones, we've seen quite a number in that space, about 4.5 years. We've seen, politicians, making some outrageous remarks, and we've seen the law sort of like follow its course. We've not had any successful conviction of the same. But are we seeing politicians right now exercise some more restraint than we've seen in the previous
I actually think
elections?
So. I think they have been very cautious. And even the reaction to the Honorable Raila's statement tells me that Kenyans are very alert. And when the Kenyans are very alert and they are able to detect these things and nip it in the bud, it means we will go over this like we have gone over the other elections peacefully. Because the politicians are very careful now, because they know we are there, even though we haven't succeeded in convicting anyone. Because again, we arrest them and take them to court, and the law has its way of operating. Still, there is a serious deterrent. The craziness we saw in 2005, 2007 is absolutely nipped. It's not there. You can tell that this is almost becoming a civilized debate. Because, people can say whatever they want. But my perception, because I lived through 2007, is that this is really more civilized debate. Sometimes they go off the rail, but then they still come back.
Okay.
And that is good for the country. I think we are maturing as a democracy.
We are maturing.
Yeah.
As NCIC right now, what are the things that you're actively doing during this whole elections period? We only have 48 days to go. What is it that you can say the Commission is actively doing? We
are really all over the country meeting the youth. We have been meeting them like in bunches of 2,500, like today. I'm on my way to Kisumu. We are meeting the youth, and just came from Lamu, all the other commissioners are all in the front meeting the youth, and they are advising the youth that they should not allow themselves to be used to mess up their country. That they will have a country after the election, that their neighbor will still be their neighbor. Whatever they are doing now, they will still do it after the election. It's not, nothing will change. Whoever wins, it will change very little, actually, from what we do. So we are advising these people, the young people especially, because they are the ones who are normally used, that they should listen to the politicians, speak, if they need that message. If they don't identify with a certain party, please don't go there. Stay at home.
Okay.
Unless if you want to go and learn. If you want to go and learn, then you go and sit peacefully and learn. Because when the politician tells you that those people are not our friends, that politician is not your friend either. And the more important, those people are really not your enemies.
Yes.
Also, you don't even know them. All you know is that they support the other side,
Somebody
and
else.
this is how it's supposed to be, because these are contest of ideas. So we are reinforcing this in our young people. We want them to know these are contest of ideas, and that the ideas the Kenyans will find palatable to them and useful to them, they will buy that. And that's why there's a manifesto. And that's why also that the politicians must be free to sell these ideas to the Kenyans in every corner of the country without being molested.
Okay.
So as an organization, we are going to be very vicious on anybody who either try to restrain you from selling your message or interferes with the process of the election also, because the process of election is a process. It's not a one event thing.
Yes. Professor, you've mentioned something to do with, being the commission being vicious. But right now, say a politician goes out there and makes some insightful remarks. Are we really likely to see them going through the whole process of, being arrested, prosecution and conviction at this time?
Believe
if we
me,
have
you
not
will.
seen it before. We have not seen it before. So really, are we being practical that indeed, even with the officers that you've sent out, you have body cameras,
Yes, and they're out there.
audio recording equipment.
Yeah.
Are we likely really to see anything happen to anybody?
Believe me, you will see. The reason why there's nobody who has appeared now is because they are being extremely careful.
All of them?
Oh yeah, they are being very careful. We're in every meeting. We have question monitors in every meeting. Even the Gayendo meeting, I can guarantee you one of our people was there. So because of that, there is more civility in the debate that we're engaging. And you will see them in court, because we will take them to court and we will let the law decide. Because the worst thing that can happen in this country is the law enforcement agencies kind of either selectively prosecuting or allowing people to get away with an offense. Because when you are law enforcement, you are not supposed to undermine the law.
Right.
You are supposed to enforce the law physically. That's why you take an oath.
But doesn't that
protect the
worry you as
station.
NCIC? Because now it seems like a cycle. You forward people's names to be prosecuted, but
To
then
DPP and then they're
things,
released.
yeah.
No, it doesn't. We know for sure that we have actually punished them. To the ordinary person, it looks like there is no punishment here. But when we arrest you, we force you to hire a lawyer. So you have incurred an expense.
But these people have money, Professor.
They have to use their money. So, and also we have appeal on most of those acquittals. We have found an appeal. And we are kind of in some talking with the DPP to be sure that there is no other monkey business which is taking place after we have taken them to him. Because we have, by law, deliver them to the DPP who decide that there is enough evidence to prosecute. Yeah.
Interesting. Just stay with me in a few minutes. We'll continue the conversation. But for now, though, in another developing story, Bungoma Governor Ken Lusaka and a member of Parliament are among 14 candidates summoned by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee in the ongoing cases of alleged breach of law in their campaigns. The 14 candidates are required to appear before the committee on Wednesday at 10 a.m. at the Commission's headquarters to respond to allegations facing them. Lusaka is required to appear alongside his competitor, Wycliffe Wamangati, over the violence that rocked the area just 2 weeks ago, leaving one person dead. Lusaka is vying on a Jubilee ticket, while his competitor is vying on an Orange Democratic Movement ticket. Others summoned are Kibwezi East Member of Parliament Jessica Mbalu and her competitor Philip Kaloki, Steve Mbogo and his competitor in Starehe, Thomas Makori, as well as Neto Adola and his competitor Eric Onyango of Rarieda. All right, so that is IEBC summoning quite a number of leaders. Professor, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one. First of all, is IEBC biting too much? Right now, they're dealing with so many things. Are we likely to see this going anywhere? Quite a number of names have been mentioned in this list.
IEBC really need to implement the law, also the electoral law, electoral code of conduct. And what I would like to see is them barring people from running who are violent, because we don't want violent leaders. So I think they are doing their job, and we should trust that they will do it well. Because one of the weaknesses also we have as a country is we build institutions, but we don't trust them. We need to trust them. And we need to hold the people also who violate that trust to account. And we need to be, as a country, we need to have no mercy for the people we give responsibility, and then they let us down, because they are not supposed to let us down. They are supposed to faithfully execute the duties of that office.
All right.
And we need to give them space to do that. So IEBC is doing its job. You know, there have been a lot of debate too, even about the procurement and so on. And personally, there's a personal view that the IEBC has allowed also too much intrusion. If they are faithfully serving the country, they don't need to allow that. They should exercise that independence. That's what I mean. They really should. Unless, of course, there is a migratory conscience somewhere, which then, because I think there's been too much intrusion. Because I don't even see why we have to print ballots in anywhere else in Kenya. We can use the government printer and print them. All you have to do...
many options.
Yeah, all you have to do is set up a committee of the parties in the contest and let them supervise the printing right here in Nairobi. If we are printing money in Ruaraga and we trust that company with our money, why can't we trust them? So there is all these things which I don't know where we are getting them from, but I think we need to be sober. We need to be very careful with the way we also use our resources. And we need to develop trust among ourselves, because the trust looks like there's a deficiency here.
Okay. Yeah. Yesterday I was speaking to somebody from ELOG, Elections Observers Group, and they were just sharing with me a report that they have over the last they've been collecting this for the last couple of months, and especially concentrating the time during the nominations. And quite a number of concerns stood out for them, saying that, you know, they saw a bit of pockets of violence here and there in the nominations. You know, women being at the center of, you know, violence or crazy melees where they get hurt together with children and old people. Does that concern you as NCIC, that already ELOG is registering all these issues in a number of places in the country? It does.
It concerns us, because anything that fits the description just given is a threat to national cohesion. Because we want the Kenyans to understand that violence cannot get them votes. They need to persuade people to agree to their point of view. Now, when they go in that direction, then that's a threat to national cohesion, and it does concern us. And what we would like is to see the police act swiftly, because I don't understand how somebody can die anywhere in the country violently, and those people are not arrested right there, because I'm assuming in every meeting there has to be police to provide the security. And then there is all these cameras. So we don't want to hear Kenyans losing their lives, and those responsible, those people are not arrested and locked in, and the arrest should be swift so that it become a deterrent. So it does, but also we need to be very positive also about this country. Also, there's another thing I've seen, we are very negative for really no serious reason. When we did research to find out whether we trust one another, we actually found that we do. Until the election comes, the politicians come and separate us. Because when you are looking for an apartment, for example, anywhere in Nairobi, you don't first do research to find out who else lives there. Yes. In order for you to feel that you can fit. You simply get your apartment and move in. That means left alone, without these politicians looking for possessions, we are quite okay with one another. So we can build on that. We don't want anything that threatens that, because that trust among ourselves before the election comes around is what creates a nation, as opposed to having a country which is made of many nations. So we would like to have a nation.
And a unified nation. Thank you very much, Professor, for speaking to us.
Asante.
Professor Gitile Naituli, he is a commissioner with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. All the best during these 48 days.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll take a break right now here on the show, but we'll be coming back to continue with our conversation here in studio.